Well, good afternoon, YouTube. It's Monday afternoon. It's super cold and rainy and gross out, and I've spent all day down here in my basement answering emails for work and just dealing with Monday stuff, and I'm kind of over it at this point. So thought I'd do something a little bit more enjoyable. I wanted to share something that I've been using for about a month now with my Bergara B14R. I use this rifle for the NRL 22 series, and I just came across this product at the end of 2020, around Christmas time or so, and really enjoyed it, and I'd like to share a little bit about it and my initial thoughts. I'm not connected with these folks at all. I just happened to see a product on either Facebook or Instagram, and I tried it out and I really enjoy it, and I think it's going to be a big hit. So I've got my B14R here in the Masterpiece Arms chassis. It's unloaded, bolts out and everything, so we're all safe here. But what I'm talking about is this extended magazine base plate here. So drop this out real quick. Bergaras, they come with a really cool 10-round magazine. It's AICS sized, so it'll fit in all the chassis and stocks and stuff that a Remington 700 would use. So comes with a 10-round, and up until this point, this was about the only offering. I know some of the Voodoo magazines people have finagled around to get them to work. It's kind of hit and miss, but really these were the reliable ones, and so this is what we use. This is what I've come across, is this red extended base plate here. This is made by a company called L3I Design Solutions. I hope I got that right. I'm going to link them down in below here, and give you a place to look for this. And again, I'm not connected with these folks at all. This is something I found. I think it's really cool. So this is an extended base plate. This one's in red. I think there's several different colors you can get. And it adds 2-round capacity to your standard 10-round Bergara magazine. And that's pretty neat. There's a couple of reasons I like this. One, it adds a little length and a little weight to the magazine. It's stock magazine's kind of stubby. If I turn this rifle around again, we're unloaded here, so we're good to go. But at stock length, it barely clears the bottom of my MPA chassis on the right side, which isn't too much of a big deal because I'm right-handed and I do my magazine insertions. I can't speak today. From the left side of the rifle, and it's got the cutout and everything for it. But it's super handy to have a little bit of extra length on the bottom of there so I can grab that. I really like that. The other thing is, for most stages at NRL 22, you are limited to 10 rounds, and so a 10-round magazine is fine. There are now starting to be a couple of stages that require more than 10 rounds. We've had a couple of 12-rounders, and all those specify that you have to have a magazine swap. That's fine, but here's an option where you can get all 12 in one magazine, so you can drop and reinsert without fumbling around for 2 magazines. That's handy. The other thing that I've noticed is, in about a year or so of shooting NRL matches, I've had maybe 2 or 3 either misfeeds or failures to fire or something like that, where I'm now a round short on a stage. So I can load this up with 12. Of course, I can only shoot 10 in that stage. But if I have to kick one out because it fails to fire, if I have an ejection issue, if one falls out for some reason, I'm not scrambling for my second mag in my pocket or wherever. I have it already handy. So that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna tear these down and show you what it takes to put this together, and a few more details on this. So I've cleared the rifle off of here, and I'm gonna give you a little bit closer up view here, show you how this all goes together, and trick or two about putting it together. When you get it, it'll come fancy little box here, bunch of little pieces. Actually, mine was all kind of fitted together so the pieces, individual pieces, wouldn't get lost or rattle around too much. But I've taken them apart here to show you everything. It's going to come is a extended base plate, and I did measure this on my scale, and it's about 1.25 ounces. It's not super heavy. It does add a little bit of weight to your magazine. The cool L3I logo on the bottom here. Obviously it's 3D printed. I'm not all up on my materials on that, but I can tell you I've dropped this one on the concrete half a dozen times or so far, and it seems to be just as durable as anything. So I don't see any durability issues with that. You know, it's virtually the same length as your standard magazine, and it's going to add about 3/4 inch in height on there. So you got the base plate. There's a little spacer that's going to go inside your old magazine. A square nut. Be careful, don't lose this. I've already chased this around the basement half a dozen times. That actually goes inside this spacer. This is a blind hole. It's captured. There's no hole on this side, so it's actually captured in there. There is a little plate for your magazine spring and Allen screw. This is a 5/32 screw, so or 5/32 Allen head, so you're going to need an Allen wrench or a screwdriver of some kind. It's also handy to have a little tiny flathead screwdriver, and I'll show you about this in a minute. So we're going to move this off the side here a little bit. Strip down of your old magazine, pretty simple. Push down on the little Bergara logo in the base plate. This is going to slide off the side here. Helps if you keep your finger over the bottom here as you're doing it, because the magazine spring is putting quite a bit of tension on there, and it will go shooting all over the place if you don't. See, it kind of halfway popped out of there, and if I wasn't holding it, it would be all across the room. So take your old base plate off, set that aside. The old, I don't know what this is called, floor plate capture, spring capture thingy. We're going to put that on the side and pull your spring out. Now, one thing you are going to want to do if you're using your stock spring is, you know, since we have a little bit more capacity now to keep tension, you'll want to stretch this out a little bit. And I talked to the manufacturer, and he's looking into the possibility of some extended aftermarket springs, and it's going to keep me posted on that. You know, but for this application, what I have done is I just pull this out. So we add maybe, you know, 1 inch to the normal length, something like that, and it'll compress back down, but give us some spring tension. If your follower falls out of there, that's fine. Put that back in there. Make sure it's facing the right way. The high end goes forward. So drop your follower in there. Put your spring back in there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get this little spacer. When it comes from the manufacturer, there'll actually be a little piece of plastic that spans this length here. And I've found that if I go ahead and snip that little tiny piece off, it helps with feeding. On another one of these that I have, I found that occasionally I'd get hung up at only 11 rounds in there, and if I snip that little piece of plastic off of there, that's perfect. Now the follower doesn't catch on there. This is all supported inside the magazine, so you're not losing any integrity or anything. So good to go there. Make sure your square nut is still captured inside of there. We're going to add that space. Whoop, I already lost my nut. Stick that back in there. We're going to add the spacer right inside there, and it fits just perfect down inside there. Here's where we're going to be real careful with our fingers so we don't lose all the little pieces. This little tiny black base plate for the spring. You can set that on there. Compress this down carefully again so we're not chasing it all over. And what that is going to do, it's going to set down into this pocket in the base plate. So we're going to hold that in there real carefully. and that keeps our spring from dragging and getting caught in here as we slide the base plate on. So we're going to slide our base plate on, and it's going to make a nice little click when it all falls down inside there. There's this handy little notch here that you can see the new black base plate in there. And then you can take your screw, stick it in there, tighten it down. Alright, apologies about that. I had a phone call right in the middle of this. Don't people know that I'm busy on a Monday afternoon? So anyway, get your screw, tighten it down in there. And again, that's screwing into that square nut that's captured in the little spacer. And there we go. There's our 12 round capacity magazine now. Now, one thing you have to remember is that spring, the magazine spring, is now captured down in an indentation inside this base plate. So you can't just pull this screw out and push the base plate off, because the spring will kink up inside there as it's down inside of a hole in here. So that's where this little slot on the bottom of here comes in handy, and you see the little black notch, or a little black plate within that notch, and that's the bottom of that magazine spring follower, base plate, whatever you want to call it, down inside there. So to disassemble the magazine, you're going to need a little flathead screwdriver, something that'll fit in there, and you can just push that down and compress it down inside there, remove your screw, and pull it out. I'm not going to do that right now. I've had these apart a couple of times and it seems to work fine. So that's the long and the short of the extension. One other interesting piece that L3I is making is this super cool chamber flag, magazine block, whatever you want to call it. Again, it's longer than your standard 10 round magazine. It's about the same length as I guess right out the same length as your extended 10 round magazine here. We got this cool bungee cord on the bottom of there so you can whip it around your bolt. Neat piece of gear there. So I'll bring the rifle back in here. Again, we're all clear. Put our bolt in. Slams right in there like that. And if you want to keep your bolt from flopping around, that's where this cord comes up in here. Now, one thing to note is I do have an aftermarket bolt lever and knob on here, so this cord is a little bit short in my rifle. In stock it's just fine, but I've used a couple other of these magazine block chamber flag things designed for the Voodoo or the MPA chassis, Bergaras, and my only complaint with the other ones is they're short again, and now they fit pretty flush with the bottom of my MPA chassis, so it's kind of hard for me to grab out of there with my right hand. With this one, again, this cord is tight. I've got plenty of length on the bottom of there, so I can very easily grab it out, even with the chassis sticking down there a little bit. So, you know, like I said, I'm not affiliated with L3I in any way, shape, or form. Real cool guy, supporting the sports. I'd encourage you to check it out. I'm gonna drop a link down here in the bottom, and you know, he's got a Facebook and an Instagram as well, so check him out there. He's happy to answer any questions. He's helped me out with a couple of things I had, and you know, I'm happy to answer any questions too. So thanks again for watching. I always appreciate any likes and subscribes and all that jazz. It helps, you know, keep me encouraged that people are actually watching these things. So thanks again. I just now realized that folks might actually want to see that it takes 12 rounds, so just relying on my words. So magazine we just put together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There you go, 12 rounds.